Hi.
Okay. Welcome to the Castro Valley Unified School District Board Member Candidate Town Hall. I'm Rebecca, the Vice President of Activism Club.
And hi, I'm Natalie Bennett. I am the President of the Activism Club. And the Activism Club encourages informed and active participation in our local and global communities. The Activism Club participates in advocacy and education across the wide range of topics. However, we do not endorse or oppose any candidates in the election related to tonight's town hall.
I'd like to remind everyone that the candidates have all agreed to participate under the ground rules set for this forum. We are excited to provide our community with an opportunity to hear civil discourse and a nonpartisan forum. This is an educational event, not a debate.
Before we get started, there are some details to review that will help you interact with the session. We are streaming this forum live on YouTube. Thank you to the partnership with the CVHS Olympian. The event will be posted on their YouTube channel for a broader community to access. Thank you to Olympian for the partnership and technical support.
Tonight's town hall will be for the position of Castro Valley Unified School Board Member. There are 3 candidates running for the 2 open positions of the selected office. All candidates were invited to participate, and all 3 are here with us this evening.
We will be handling questions for the candidates in the following manner. Questions for this town hall will have been solicited in advance from the community and our CVHS Activism Club. We will have some time to the end for the audience questions. You may write your question on a note card that was given to you when you entered. It will be collected by an Activism Club member. The questions will be screened to avoid duplicity and any inappropriate questions. The order of answering questions throughout the event will alternate, and each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to each question.
The candidates have drawn lots for the order of speaking. Did we? We will begin the opening statement
with Tina Sachs.
Hello. Thank you to Ms. Ireland and the Activism Club for hosting this forum tonight. My name is Tina Sachs. I'm running for school board because of my deep commitment to our students, their outcomes, and educational equity, because when our students are uplifted, our entire community is uplifted. I've spent most of my adult life working and volunteering in service to our local, national, and global communities. Over the past 16 years, I've been a CFO and financial director of 2 high-performing educational nonprofits whose missions are to provide equitable access to high-quality education with a focus on students in historically under-resourced communities, both in the U.S. and around the world. I'm a dedicated volunteer within Castro Valley and throughout the East Bay. I'm the mom of 2 children, a daughter who is a senior here at the high school, and a son who is learning to become a chef at a Japanese restaurant in Danville. I'm endorsed by members of our community and beyond who can attest to my education and passion to all students and our community, as well as the effectiveness of my leadership and demonstrated outcomes. I ask for your vote so that together we can help make our schools even better than they are today.
Next up, Gary Howard.
Good evening, and I wanted to thank the students for putting on this candidate forum, and also Ms. Tigerman for her assistance to them, and everybody for coming out tonight to see us. You know, Castro Valley has a long-standing tradition of terrific schools, and that didn't happen by accident. It happened because of a lot of work by parents, teachers, administrators, classified staff, and occasionally school board members. And I've been lucky enough to be a part of that team for the last several years. And in those several years, we had Measure G, which has greatly enhanced our facilities and brought them into the 21st century. New classes in various topics, emphasis on social workers and counselors, and diversity and inclusion. And we want to continue to make our schools even better than what they were before. Thank you very much.
And last but not least, Sarah Raymond.
Okay, good evening and thank you again. I am honored to be here with the Activism Club, and in fact, when I was in high school, I started an Activism Club at my high school. So this is really an honor to be here, and I've been politically active in issues that are dear to my heart ever since. And I am 49 now, so that's a really long time. I am a parent of 2 children in our school district. My kids are in 6th grade and in 9th grade. I've been a district parent for 11 years, and I'll be a district parent for another 7. I am also an attorney, and I think that that brings a really unique skill set to our board: advocacy skills, problem-solving skills, analytical skills, and communication skills. And those things are things that I think would really benefit all of us. I've been lucky enough to be endorsed by our teachers and our Classified Employees Association as well. They know that I want to be a partner to them. This is based on my past performance working in classrooms with them and my time as a parent. Thank you.
First question, we're going to start with Sarah. What's your major goal if elected? What steps will you take to achieve this goal if you are in committees? What are your major goals and have you achieved it?
Okay, so I am very much committed to several things. First of all, partnering with our teachers and our district to make sure that our classrooms are fully funded and to make sure that our teachers have all of the support and the equipment that they need, supplies that they need to give our kids the best education they could possibly have in the classroom. I really support pathways towards careers for all of our learners, no matter what that looks like, whether it's college or our career pathways. I've been endorsed by Building Trades Council and several trade unions, in fact, because of my commitment to making sure that kids have access to technical education and career opportunities upon graduation. A huge goal of mine, a big goal of mine, is to really improve communication between our school district and our families and our community at large. I think that this is something that's going to help not just with people's happiness with the schools, but also it's going to really help when our district is making efforts that are to provide inclusive opportunities for different communities, to really feel like their input is being taken into account when those things are being planned and rolled out into the community. In talking with different groups during this campaign, whether it is LGBTQ groups or SPED parents or BIPOC communities, what I'm hearing is that communication simply is lacking. When opinions are asked for, they're not necessarily being taken into consideration, and plans are being made without their collaboration. And I think that if we're going to be lifting people up and really in the name of diversity and inclusion, we really, really need, as a community and as a school district, to make sure that we are including those voices in planning and in rolling out plans. Those are a few things that I want to do.
All right, thank you. Pass it to Gary, and I'll repeat the question. What's your major goal if elected? What steps will you take to achieve the goal? If you are an incumbent, what was your major goal and how have you achieved it?
Well, I think what we always need to keep in mind is that our purpose for being here is to focus on our students. So to me, what we really need to do is to focus on the learning environment that we have in our classrooms. And that has many, many components and involves a lot of different issues. For example, we need to be continually thinking about the kinds of classes that will serve our students as the world continues to evolve. I mentioned just a minute ago that we brought in some new classes, like classes in big data handling, the engineering pathway, culinary arts, auto repair, and welding. These are all thinking into the future and thinking for better ways to serve our students. In order to do that, we also need to be thinking about our facilities and what kind of facilities we'll need to serve those kinds of new classes. You can't do auto repair in a regular classroom, for example. You can't teach engineering in an English classroom. So we need to think about that and how our campuses work for us. And finally, all of those things require money. And so we need to carefully think how we're going to pay for all these things. We're in a particularly awkward position now because we're losing our one assembly member. We'll have two. No matter who wins the Assembly 20 race, it'll be a freshman person. We're changing senatorial districts, so our ability to educate our legislators is going to be more challenging than it has been in the past. So we'll have to think very hard about how we can pay for all of these things. But I think we really need to keep the focus on the classroom and all that means academically, socially, emotionally, and in safety. So thanks very much.
Thank you, and now pass it to Tina Sachs. Also repeat the question again. What's your major goal if elected? What steps will you take to achieve the goal if you are an incumbent? What was your major goal and how have you achieved it?
Okay. So I'm running on a platform to ensure that we continue to make our schools even better than they are today by improving student outcomes, particularly our students from historically under-resourced communities with a focus on emotional health and wellness in a safe environment. We need to attract, hire, and retain a diverse set of teachers, staff, and leaders, and our board. And we need to create a long-term facilities plan, as Gary said, to ensure that our students can continue to learn in a safe and beautiful buildings that can evolve with the changing needs of preparing our students for college, career, and life. And then we need to ensure that our district remains financially healthy and that our dollars are equitably invested across the diverse needs of our students. While our district and our students are performing really high, you can say 94%, graduation rate 98%, attendance rate, at the end of the day, we have a very diverse set of students. And so 30% are Asian American, 14% are mixed race, 24% are Latino and Hispanic, and then 5% African American, and then the rest Caucasian. And that makes a difference because when you then double click on our student performance and outcomes, it's not a surprise because this is happening across the country. We do have a learning opportunity gap for particularly our students of color, our English language learners, and our SPED kids. And so at the end of the day, it's really important that we're making the right investments and equitable investments for our students in the communities, across the communities. So that is the biggest thing that I care about. That's the biggest thing that I'm working towards. And that's what I've spent my entire career doing.
All right, thank you. You can pass the mic to Gary. And I'll read the second question. How do you embody all means all? How have you or will you make students feel welcomed and accepted?
Could you repeat that again? I didn't quite get it.
Yes.
Feedback there.
How do you embody all means all? How have you or will you make students feel welcomed and accepted?
That's an ongoing challenge, and it's one that we work hard here to try to take our unofficial motto of all means all and turn it into reality. I can think of a few examples, perhaps, of what we've done over the years. One of the things, and that's just a bit of background, one of the things that I do every time I go into a classroom or any other student event is to start looking around the room and seeing what the population looks like. As Tina just said, we're extremely diverse here. And if I don't see diversity, then I start thinking there's a problem. For example, a few years ago, we thought that that our orchestras and so forth were a little bit too Asian and a little bit too white. So we invented a thing called the mariachi band, which was to encourage Hispanics and anybody else who wanted to get into music, and hopefully then they would move on over into the orchestras as they got a little older. We also noticed that we didn't have any students of color in the higher math classes. So we changed the standards for going into the higher math track, and we're hoping now that we'll be able to get some students of color into calculus and statistics and so forth. We also have had a few incidents, unfortunate ones, with some racial graffiti here. And we invented a thing called the Community Alliance, which brought together lots of organizations. We put people at every campus during registration, welcoming families and students there, making sure they all knew that they were part of our larger community family. And that organization has continued to work on various means to welcome students. We have a great relationship with CV Pride and other organizations, and we will continue doing those kinds of things into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and you can pass it to Sarah. And I'll repeat the question. How do you embody all means all? How have you or will you make students feel welcomed and accepted?
Thank you. This is an important question to me as well. Obviously, I'm a white woman, so some of the challenges that people in our district are facing are not ones that I personally have faced, but it is something that I take very dear to my heart. I also think it'd be remiss for me to talk about all means all without also noting that today is Indigenous Peoples Day, and we are sitting on Willis John Ohlone lands right now. In my time as a parent, I've had a lot of volunteer experiences in our classrooms. A couple have been to work in the library at Van Noy, and also to be the volunteer music teacher at Van Noy for 4 or 5 years running, I think it was. And I really relied on those experiences to make sure that I was picking books to read that reflected characters from BIPOC backgrounds or Indigenous stories to share with our kids. I also was sure when picking music to teach to our kids that I was doing the same thing, so that I was making sure that what we were offering in our classroom, at least under my power, was very inclusive and diverse. I've also been involved in the community with organizations to distribute the CD United Against Hate signs, for instance, to 8,000 homes, offices, classrooms in our community, and you probably still see those today. I am very much an ally to LGBTQ families. I'm the only person up here who actively sought support from LGBT communities and organizations for my campaign. Thank you. And I've been endorsed by Stonewall Democrats, which is a historic LGBTQ democratic group here in the Bay Area, and also have support of the founder of CV Pride and the current director of CV Pride for my support and allyship to this community. This is really important, and I think that we need to be sure to solicit opinions and input from these communities in order to make sure that what we're offering is truly inclusive and representational.
Thank you, and you can pass it to Tina. And I'm going to repeat the question. How do you embody all means all? How have you or will you make students feel more welcomed and accepted?
So all means all to me means taking into account the whole child, from their academics to their overall physical and mental and emotional well-being. I've been a track coach both, through youth and into high school. And when we're talking about our students, it's really important or our athletes, that we start with the child first. and then we build upon their emotional well-being, and then we build upon their athletics. And so that is the experience that I've had working with students directly in my workplace and here in Castro Valley and in the community. I support and believe and live and embody diversity, equity, and inclusivity. I believe that it needs to be inextricably interwoven into the fabric of the work that we're doing with students. And so that's just who I am. It's what I believe, and that's what I'm going to be carrying forward. How do I make folks feel comfortable? I hope that people see me as an inclusive person. I hope that when we work together and when I work with the community, I'm taking into everybody's perspectives. I'm coming in with an open heart and an open mind. And that is my commitment, and using data-informed decisions and data-informed information to make proper decisions and the right decisions for our students.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Tina. How have you or how do you plan to help students with mental health issues?
So, hands down, without a doubt, students that feel safe and that are mentally healthy will have better academic outcomes. And that has to be the center of our work. We are experiencing a mental health crisis in our country, and this has only been exacerbated by COVID. What's working? Our district recognized early on that mental health is critical and worked with our board and our leaders and our community to build a wellness center at the high school, and they've expanded this to our middle schools. We have social workers and counselors across our elementary, middle, and high schools. And we have symbols and murals and signs of inclusion so that our students see that the district and schools and adults support marginalized communities, where students and families see that we are an inclusive and safe community. The district continues to find ways to identify students. Well, I won't go there yet. What we can do better and more of is continued and ongoing social and emotional learning to help students improve their outlook of themselves and their interaction with others. This is the core of healthy emotional well-being for students. And then continued training to support for our teachers and staff so that they know what to do when mental health issues arise. Continue to build out community partnerships and relationships where we can focus on outcomes together, because we can't be everything to everyone, so we have to build partnerships. And then I want to advocate for additional funding at the state level such that districts don't have to continue to utilize general funds for critical services. That's a big challenge for us, and it often comes through the form of mandates. And then you have to end up taking money and you have to choose between, should we choose mental health or should we choose academic outcomes? And that's not a choice that I feel like we should have to make.
Thank you. You can pass it to Sarah, and I'll repeat the question again. How have you or how do you plan to help students with mental health issues?
Thank you. So obviously, as I'm sure we're all aware, the last 2-3 years have taken a massive toll, not just on our kids, but on our teachers, of course, as well. My own family really felt the brunt of the impact that this could have on our children. When our youngest son really went through an awful lot when the schools started to reopen, and it exacerbated a lot of anxiety and other issues. And it was very difficult, for our family, and very difficult in terms of like, how can we get, what we need from the schools in terms of supporting him and making sure he finishes his enough schoolwork to move on with his class into middle school. Things like that were really terrifying and scary for us. And I think that it's really incredible that we have made this commitment to our wellness standards. I want to make sure that obviously we maintain that commitment, but that they're actually truly staffed properly with enough people to provide services, across the board to the number of children that we need to provide services to. Like this high school that we're sitting in is nearly 3,000 kids. And it's very hard for me as a parent to get, I think, accurate information in terms of how many social workers, licensed social workers, are staffing the wellness center versus how many are interns. And in fact, that's what the website reflects, is that there's one social worker and 2 interns. And I don't know that that's accurate or enough. I'm lucky enough to be backed by many people who work in mental health, who are mental health professionals, particularly with respect to kids and juveniles. And I intend to continue to lean on them for their opinions and advice as to how we can best serve this populations. I do think that we have to pay extra special attention, again, to BIPOC kids and their families and the resources that they may not have access to, that they might be needing, so that we're truly supporting. And again, this is an effort of inclusivity and making kids feel safe and comfortable.
Thank you, and you can pass it to Gary, and I'll repeat the question. How have you, or how do you plan to help students with mental health issues?
Well, I get to go last now, so I get to repeat some of the things that other people have said, but clearly, we have always recognized, within the district, have always recognized that this is a major problem for us. I think, as Sarah said, it's been exacerbated by the pandemic, which brought us a new crop of unfortunate issues with some of our students and some of our adults, for that matter. But we did recognize early on, and even before the pandemic, that this was a challenge for us. I was on the original committee that envisioned the wellness center at the high school and at the middle schools. And in fact, now we are working to establish a medical clinic that would be a complement to the behavioral clinic that we have and further help the students that need that aspect of it. We've also, although it would be great if the state or the feds would cough up the money that would pay for all of this, they haven't to this point. But it is one of the hard things that you have to do as a board member is to find money. And we have found money out of Hyde, as I think Tina said, out of the general fund. We support 100 paras, 13 psychologists, I believe 19 social workers, a lot of counselors. Even in elementary school, we're one of the few districts in the state that actually has counselors in the elementary school. So this has been a long time issue for us, and we have put a lot of emphasis on it. And actually it does help us because this, in conjunction with a lot of the, I can throw some acronyms out here, but there are programs for handling behavior in our students like PIBS and those sort of things that help our students in an earlier age in restorative justice. All of these things are meshed together, and we'll keep doing that. So thanks very much.
Thank you, and the next question will start with Gary. How will you make students aware of racial issues? Okay. How will you make students aware of racial issues?
We have a lot of programs, in particular here at the high school. I mentioned one before that was in the community. It's the Community Alliance, but students are a part of that, a number of the clubs. I know there are clubs here also that have, there's the Women of Color for Change Club here, and other ones. We encourage those. There are a number of parent clubs. I was just at 2 events a few weeks ago, one for the African American parents that was here, one for the, that was at Stanton, one that for the Hispanic parents that was here. We have good relations with a number of the organizations in town. The Rotary Club, which I'm a part of, for example, has supported some of the clubs here and the Black Students Association with funds and with arranging programs. We arranged for Nancy O'Malley, the district attorney, to come down here and speak about human trafficking, which is a big issue. And the whole concept, or a lot of the concept of Trojan time, which was brought into the school day, part of that work and part of those lessons were aimed at racial understanding and promoting inclusion and diversity. Those are huge issues for all of us. So we will just continue to add more programs like that and try to make students aware that We are happy that we have an extremely diverse community. We have over 50 languages spoken at home, and we're thrilled by that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can pass the mic to Tina. How will you make students aware of racial issues?
So I think that students are aware that there are racial issues. I think it's the adults in the room and families that need to become more aware and supportive of the work that needs to be done from a race and ethnicity and socioeconomic status. So I think the way I'll tackle this question is, the racial inequities exist, and we have to confront them head on. And we have to confront them at all levels, both starting at the board. And when we, look, and let's just be clear, like when we look at our academic outcomes, Hispanic students, our English language learners, again, our African-American students are disproportionately performing and seeing reduced academic gains in relation to our Asian American and Caucasian peers. Our Black and Latino students have less access to college-ready courses. They are less represented in these courses and are less prepared for college than their peers. There are times when our teachers have lower expectations of our students of color, and our students of color are more likely to be disciplined in their behavior. So what are we doing as a district? I've seen that we're offering more AP and honors courses that don't require specific level of performance or backgrounds to come into these classes. We're offering mastery-based learning. The district has expanded courses like Afrocentric US history and honors African American literature so that students can see what excellence looks like in the classroom and in life. And the district is also working to renegotiate partnership with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office because we know that hasn't been working and we need to hit it head on. So, I also know, and I speak from this personally as a Japanese American. Thank you.
And we'll move to Sarah. How will you make students aware of racial issues?
Okay, so as others have mentioned, we are a majority minority district, and our community really is very diverse, but our community is also very integrated. If you look at maps that show demographic distribution in a community, that's what you'll see. And all around me, especially highlighted in the last several years, we've been seeing people, especially white people and young people, become much more aware and in tune with the fact that we need to do better, as a community to make sure not just that BIPOC voices are heard, but that they're elevated, and I think that that's something that we need to do in our classrooms from the very youngest age. We can't not do it and then just expect kids in high school to start understanding what that means. Personally, I really support this kind of curriculum and the changes that I've been seeing over the last couple of years. And I support that going all the way down to the various youngest grades. I think it's critical that our kids are raised not just at home to understand our history, but in our schools to understand our history. We need to question our history and analyze it and understand how, as a society, we can do better going forward. It starts with our kids, it starts with us making sure our kids understand their responsibility to their communities. Again, today, Indigenous Peoples Day, would have been a great opportunity for our high school, or middle school, even our elementary schools to do teach-ins on what that means, and what it means to be living on land that was colonized for generations and generations. And I really support this kind of work, and I would love to dig in, as a representative in this community to make sure it's truly being spread out. This is part of all means all.
All right, question number 5 will be Sarah will start off. How will your background help you on the board? How can you reference your professional experience, your role as CVUSD parent, or other roles you have had within our community and district?
Okay, thank you. So I think there are a few background roles that I could draw on in talking about this. I'll start with my job as an attorney. I've been an attorney for 20 years. Some people hear that and think, oh, she's just going to want to fight with everybody. That's not actually my style as an attorney. I'm a family law attorney, and my work really is centered on problem solving, especially in very high conflict situations. And so more so than other litigators, my job is to get to the heart of the matter, understand where the conflict is coming from, and try to help solve that conflict. Dealing with very personal problems, 95% of my cases involve children. I'm always having to think, what is in the best interest of our children? That is my job as an attorney, and it's my duty to my clients. That would be my duty here in CVUSD as well. I also would like to say that, again, as a parent of a 6th and a 9th grader who spent a lot of time volunteering in our classrooms over the years, I see what our teachers do every day. You know, I have very good experience with being around our teachers, good relationships with our teachers, and I'm really honored to have their support in moving forward in this campaign. And I think that that would be very helpful as a board member to have somebody who's had a lot of experience as a parent volunteer in our classrooms. And then also another piece of my background is as a political activist. Part of being a political activist in a community is making sure that community members, you know, meet each other, talk to each other, find out what's making them tick. Again, it goes to this idea, we've got to get to the heart of the matter. When there's conflict, what is driving it? How can we make things better for everyone? I do really love our schools. We've had great experiences in our schools. My husband, who's here, he and I would not have our kids in our schools if we didn't feel that way. You know, I just think we have this opportunity to make things really glow, you know, and my experience will help with that.
Can you pass the mic to Tina? How will your background help you on the board? How can you reference your professional experience, your role as CVUSD parent, or other roles you have had within the community and district?
For the past 16 years, I have worked at 2 high-performing educational nonprofit organizations. I was the CFO of KIPP Public Schools and Finance Director of Khan Academy. It is these organizations where I honed my financial skills, helping our multi-million-dollar organizations develop long-range strategic plans, keeping our organizations financially healthy while helping to raise millions of dollars. I also gained a deep respect for teaching and learning, the need for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and why keeping our students at the center of our discussions and decisions is critical for making the next right move. I have traveled the country talking with leaders and observing and celebrating our teachers who are doing their best for students each and every day. For the past 6 years, I've served on the Measure G Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, which funds our facilities improvements for our schools. I was a campaign leader for Measure I, the parcel tax measure, and I currently sit on our SOAR committee, which is looking for ways to source additional funding for our district. I've served on the boards of Castro Valley Soccer Club and the Castro Valley Sports Foundation as their treasurer. I'm a local certified track and field coach and official. I've also served on the board of East Bay YMCA Foundation in Cherryland, Ashland, and Caliber Public Schools, a charter school organization in Richmond, Vallejo, which serves families in historically under-resourced communities around the world and around the country. And while I do support the need for school choice in geographies where students do not have access to high-performing schools, I absolutely do not support charter schools here in Castro Valley. And I absolutely support our teachers, staff, and leaders. I will keep students at the center of the discussions and decisions, as this is what the board is ultimately accountable for. I'm a proven financial leader, ensuring that the organizations I led are high-performing from a student, people, and financial perspective. I'm a data-informed decision maker. I'm a collaborator, community, and partnership builder. I hold space for different opinions without judgment and an effort for both parties to be seen and heard. I'm a strategic thinker and help lead organizations achieve at the next level. And I believe and lead with accountability and transparency.
Alrighty, next up, Gary. How will your background help you on the board? How can you reference your professional experience, your role as CVUSD parent, or other roles you have had within our community and district?
Thank you. My entire career has been spent in biomedical research, and the thing that the sciences teach you is how to be a critical thinker and to look at things objectively and with a hard eye. And I've been fortunate enough to be around some pretty good schools and a couple of biotech companies. I know what it takes to succeed in a highly competitive world these days. But on the other hand, I also know what it means when you don't go to college. I grew up in very rural, deep Appalachia in West Virginia in a coal mining family. I also spent a significant amount of time with the United States Army, which is not exactly an intellectual organization. And here I was able to, I've been a part of the Eden Area ROP for a number of years, and they support a lot of our career training in auto repair, construction, welding, medical and dental assisting, and a number of other areas. I've been on the Biotech Advisory Committee for the Eden Area ROP for about 12 or 13 years. And here in the district, before I was on the school board, I was president of the Educational Foundation for 5 years. I brought a lot of young students of different kinds, different genders, different ethnicities to our classrooms here to speak to students, and also put on a number of talks at the CFA and brought in some good scientists. In addition to that, in the community, I'm a member of the Rotary Club, and also I represent Castro Valley Unified on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. So thanks very much.
Thank you, and can you pass the microphone to Tina for our last question before we open up? How can you ensure that students feel safe on our campuses?
So all children have a right to a safe learning environment, full stop. And there's absolutely room for improvement in this area. Physical safety. While it is true that we have less suspensions and expulsions than we ever have had, it is also true that it has had an impact on teaching and learning in classrooms and the general safety of our campuses. So how can we empower and support our teachers and staff while keeping our students safe and learning? Restorative practices in theory are a great tool to use in terms of changing the narrative for victims and their offenders, and it is really hard in practice. So how do we provide ongoing support and training for our teachers and staff? And we also have to recognize that this takes time. It is a fact that our SROs on our campuses, as they have existed in the past, have had more negatives than positive outcomes for our students, particularly our students of color. It is also true that we have new sheriff in town, and we need to and can build a more collaborative relationship with their office together with our community. I share all this because I think we have an opportunity as a district to take stock of where we are in terms of overall safety using actual data, and we need to work together with the district, its leaders, its teachers, its staff, its students, and the community to improve safety on our campuses, which will then ultimately improve academic outcomes for students. There's also emotional safety. Children need to feel emotionally safe in order to learn. Embedding social and emotional learning into our everyday learning is critical. Inclusivity matters to every extent possible. We need to include the opportunity to participate both inside and outside the classrooms. And signs, murals, and symbols of inclusion, these help students and families feel safe and walk around campuses knowing that they're going to be taken care of as they go about their everyday lives.
Thank you, and can you pass the mic to Gary? And how can you ensure that students feel safe on our campuses?
Okay, that clearly is a big issue, and it's been one that's been in the front of our mind for the last number of years in particular. We have worked hard to put in place the policies, plans, training, and people that we need to keep our campuses safe. You know, we own the campuses all day until there's some kind of an event, and then till probably about 10 minutes or so afterwards, if if help needs to be called for. So we need to have the people, as I just said, the policies, the plans, the training, and the people ready, regardless of what the situation is, because it's on us. And we have done that. We've hired more campus patrollers, and we had Alice training a couple of years ago. We didn't have it during the pandemic, obviously, we couldn't, but we have it, we're setting it up for this year to do it again for our, beginning with our staff and then for our faculty, our students again. As Tina said, we have actually now, I think, the best relationship we've had with the Sheriff's Department in years. We have a contract with them to provide security for events after school, and they are on call for us, and we are holding ongoing meetings with them and getting to know the people that they have specifically patrolling Castro Valley. And as Tina said, a big part of this is working on the emotional and behavioral status of our students themselves and making sure they understand that there are better ways of doing things than getting into trouble. We have programs of restorative justice and other things at many campuses. Thank you.
All right, thank you, and can you pass it to Sarah?
Okay, I got it.
Okay.
You can repeat it if you want though.
Okay. How can you ensure that students feel safe on our campuses?
Okay, thank you. Again, as a parent of two in our schools, extremely important issue to me, and I'm happy to share that I've actually been distinguished by Moms Demand Action as a gun sense candidate for school board. They have approved me as one who is ready to take a trauma-informed and age-appropriate approach to violence safety in our schools. And this is really important to me in terms of how we approach this, because I don't want to do anything that's going to further terrify our kids, in terms of training them and making them ready for an absolutely horrific potential event. I think that we need to be very clear that our district needs to have a really good working relationship with law enforcement. However, a visible relationship with law enforcement, such as having officers on campus on a daily basis, is not necessarily a safe or sane thing for all of our kids. And it's statistically proven that this actually is damaging to a lot of kids, especially children who are people of color. And I don't want to support that sort of thing, but I do want to support having a good relationship with our Sheriff's Department. It is important, however, to note that even without a contract for SROs, the Sheriff's Department still has a duty to respond to us. So having that relationship, I think, is really critical and important. And I'm happy that I actually am going to have a chance to meet with Yesenia Sanchez in this coming week to talk with her about things like that and how they might impact our school. I also just wanted to add, bullying is a massive problem still, as much as we want to say that it's still a big problem. And I think we really need to reframe how we look at that in our schools, because it impacts our kids on a daily basis. And this is something, again, we got to put restorative justice in place down to the earliest ages so that kids understand how to use it and aren't just waiting for it to be a reaction or a response. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, if you have questions and you haven't given them to us, please come to the table and submit your questions. If you are on the live stream, feel free to type your questions in the comments, and we will take like 1 minute and organize our questions.
Alrighty, Rebecca will ask the questions from the audience.
Okay, so how we decided the questions is we kind of compiled them into concise questions because we don't have much time. The first question is, how do you plan to encourage and ensure student voices are being heard and considered, not only by the board, but by the district administration as well? Who went first last time?
Did you get it? Could you repeat the question? I didn't quite get it.
Yes. How do you plan to encourage and ensure student voices are being heard and considered not only by the board, but by district administration as well?
Well, you have a very good student board member sitting right out here who's one conduit, certainly, to get your messages to the Board of Education. And, you know, anyone can come to the Board of Education. It's a meeting of the Board of Education in public, and there's, anyone can speak on any topic, either on the agenda, or there's even a part of the agenda that's for items not on the agenda, but within the purview of what the board can control. So we've had a number of occasions when students or student groups have sent petitions to us, or have come to the school board, or have emailed us. We all have an email address, we all have a telephone number, so it's fairly easy to get those messages over, I think. In addition to that, the superintendent has a student advisory committee that she meets with regularly. It's another conduit to get any concerns to the school board. And of course, I think you could always talk to your parent club and your parents, and they would certainly be happy to transmit messages. But we're happy to hear from the students for sure. So please, if you have any concerns, email me, call me, come and see me, come to the board meetings. We have a board meeting this Wednesday. It starts at, the open session starts at 6 o'clock. I'm happy to see you there.
You can pass the mic to Sarah.
Okay, I'll try to keep it brief, it's getting late. So communication with our community is super important to me. That extends to communicating with the younger parts of our community, especially given the fact that, you know, teenagers are heading into becoming, you know, civic engaged members of society, and you should be involved in what's happening in your schools. So, you know, something that I would love to do is like, meet me for boba, bring your friends, let's talk about your school, you know, just as kind of a town hall sort of conversation. Maybe we could hold a board meeting right here at the high school instead of at the board meeting, you know, boardroom. Perhaps we could, you know, I'd be happy to come to your events, meet with your clubs, and talk about what's going on in your schools. I think the more communication, the better. So that's a big deal to me. I'll also share that I was endorsed recently by the Alameda County Young Democrats because I want to hear from what the young people in our community about what's bothering them, or what's making them happy, or what they're concerned about in the world. Because, you know, you guys are gonna inherit it, you know, it's yours. And we're just stewards of it for you for now. And we need to hear what the kids need. So let's open that communication up.
Student voices are critical, and they need to be at the center of the discussions. I will only echo everything that Gary just said, because that is the absolute right way to go about getting your voice heard. I think the very tangible example of that was our Progress Pride flags. It was student-led, student-driven, and what's great about our community and what's great about our board is that we listened, and that is so, so important. So I encourage students to utilize the channels that they have that are existing, and to, should I become a part of this board and get elected, those same channels exist to each and every single student here in the district.
Okay, the next question is, what can the district do to increase the number of racially diverse teachers because we have a very diverse community?
We'll start with Gary.
That's a challenge for everybody, for sure. We really do want and have been working hard to make our administrators and our teaching staff resemble our very diverse student population. I was at an event early in the school year, the first day, I think, when we had all the administrators over in the room just over there. And when I looked around the room, I remarked to the superintendent that at this point, our administrators, which is our assistant supes, directors, principals, and APs, and others, look very much like our student body. That has been very successful. Right now, our teachers are not quite at that level, and we have been looking hard. We send people to minority teacher organizations when they have their annual meetings and other meetings to recruit there. We have recruiting sessions here. We try very hard. It's a comment on the country right now that we lack the number of minority teachers that we do. I mean, for example, we have here on this campus, as Tina mentioned earlier, a U.S. history taught from an African-American perspective, and it's taught by a white teacher. And I asked him specifically about that, and he said he uses that as a teaching point in the first week. Why am I a white teacher teaching American history from a Black perspective? So they go through that. But you can extrapolate, I think, from that fact to that finding those teachers is quite difficult. We have a number of programs to try to help that, which I've run out of time.
Okay. Hi. Okay. So quickly, I think that we need to examine why perhaps we're not getting a pool of people to hire that is diverse. And I will be very blunt. I've never been a hiring manager at all, so I've never had to do that. However, I do think that there are people who are, really good at going to a hiring organization and saying, okay, this is why you're not getting a diverse pool of applicants. Maybe if we haven't done that, maybe we need to do that. Or if we have done that, maybe we need to do it again. And just get input, from a diversity expert, for instance, who understands how to attract and retain a diverse pool of teachers and staff. I would love to see that happen. And then obviously we have to make our salaries competitive with other Bay Area districts. And we have to ensure that as a work environment, it's a place people want to remain. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and this is,
So hiring, I would start earlier, if even possible, and we need to be casting a wider net. We need to find it so that it's attractive for people to come to Castro Valley, and that can be challenging at times. We just have a huge budget surplus that we can be thinking creatively about one-time dollars that will allow for grants for students or for teachers to finish their degree and pay for their degree. There's ideas of affordable housing. There was a law that passed recently that allowed for housing on campuses. Maybe that doesn't apply to us because we don't have enough space. But at the end of the day, if we're working with different communities like Hayward, where they are looking at affordable housing, we have to make it a place that people and teachers and diverse teachers want to come and live and teach, and we have to make it a good environment for them as well.
Okay, sorry about that. The last question before closing statements is going to be, what do you think about minimizing the stigma regarding college is required for success? What programs would you institute for the success of students who do not want to go to college or feel it is not an option? How do you plan to make college planning more accessible to underrepresented groups? Tina goes first.
That was a lot. Okay, so I think, first of all, we have to be creating an environment where we're setting up our students for not just college, but a career and their life, right? And we have to be okay with that. And I'm okay with that as a board member, having both a daughter who wants to go off to college and a son who is working in culinary. So that's really critical, and we have to make sure that that's okay. In terms of what we're doing, we need to strengthen our A through G requirements, make it broader, more diverse, make sure that all of our students can, as much as they want to, join those classes and expand the pipeline for that. If they want to go into career and technical, make sure that they know what's out there, make sure they understand our RLP programs, make sure that we figure out how to broaden the classes that we actually have here at the high school too, that prepares them for life. So for example, we could do coding classes, right? You don't need a college degree to go and do that. And it's like the new in thing to not have a college degree at the software company that I worked for. So, and then for life, let's make sure that our kids are ready for life. One of the things that's passing around the country is financial literacy. And so what are we doing for our students here if they're choosing to not go off to college, if they're choosing to go into technical, straight into a career or into life? Let's build financial literacy into our curriculum and make sure that our students are ready to take on the real world. That's a lot. Sarah?
Okay, thanks. I'll try to keep it brief. I do want to share first off that this is really important to me, and I've actually been endorsed by the Alameda County Building Trades Council, which is a consortium of building trades unions, the iron workers local, sheet metal workers local, the bricklayers local, and also the sprinkler fitters local, because they all recognize that I see that it's really important that we make sure that our kids have these options in front of them. College is great for kids who want to be to college. College is great for kids who, are ready for that experience, and obviously we want the academic, rigorous academics in our schools so that that path is supported. But I do think that we need to make a real conscious effort outside of the CTE program to invite trades on campus to do workshops. Just like we have the military come and do recruiting and during lunch, why not have one of the trade unions come and do a presentation during lunch? I was really kind of blown away when I visited the Ironworkers Apprenticeship Facility to learn just how much apprentices make right out of high school on an hourly basis. It's incredible. Kids should know that these are options, that are open to them. I'm not saying everyone needs to go out and be an iron worker, but all of these unions have these kinds of things available, training, on-the-job training that's paid for, health insurance for you and your whole family, things like that. And kids avoid the burden of massive crushing student debt, which is, I think it's something that we all really do need to think about. Again, college is great. I went to college, I went to law school. I'm happy I did those things, that those are things available to me. Those might not be the right path for all kids, though. We need to make sure that they know that it's okay to choose other things. So the more we can emphasize that, the better. I guess I wasn't brief, I apologize.
Well, as I pointed out before, I've been part of Eden Area ROP now for about 12 or 13 years at least. And on their governing board now in my third or fourth year, I think. They have an extremely robust program and a relationship with all the trade unions. Twice a year, they bring them all in for a dinner and a conference so they can all get together. I've been to quite a few of those. There's usually 200 to 250 people in the room. So they have an extensive network of interactions with all the trade unions and for internships and support people going on to trade schools. Here at Castro Valley High School, let me just say one more thing about the ROP. It's for juniors and seniors so far. They take sophomores over each year. Castro Valley High sends quite a number of students over to tour the facility. They have also programs where they go into our middle schools and familiarize them with the trade possibilities and so forth. Here at Castro Valley High School, we have an excellent auto shop. We did have woodworking at Canyon. We're just expanding the culinary arts. There's a lot of interest in the trades here. They're great jobs. And with one problem we have, though, is when the state tells us they want the students to be college and career ready, but if you look at the ranking that they do, it's all weighted toward college, which is really unfortunate. That's something we really need to look at and encourage the State Department of Education to modify that program for us. Anyway, thanks very much.
Thank you. And now we're going to go to closing statements. We'll start with Sarah.
All right, so thanks again for all of you who came out to hear this tonight, and thanks on CVHS Olympian, YouTube, for anyone who might watch this tonight or in the days to come. Obviously, it's an important decision because it does impact our community quite a bit, who is running your district. I'll just repeat that my goals are to make sure that our classrooms are fully funded and our teachers have all the support that they need to provide an excellent education to all of our kids, no matter what their needs are in the classroom. I support pathways to careers for all learners, no matter what their goals might be. And the key endorsements, again, are the Teachers Association for Castro Valley, the California School Employees Association, Building Trades Council of Alameda County. I've actually been endorsed by our California Attorney General, Rob Bonta, due to our conversation about diversity within our community and how that impacts our schools and how our schools impact that. The Alameda County Democrats have endorsed me as well as the Young Democrats. Stonewall Democrats, I have been rated 100% from Planned Parenthood, meaning I am committed to gender inclusive education, throughout the grades at an age appropriate level and way. I mentioned Moms Demand Action as well. I have a great coalition backing me currently with community members. These people represent LGBTQ parents and organizers, immigrant parents, special ed parents, indigenous parents, and also mental health professionals. Individual teachers also are endorsing me in addition to the union endorsement. I'm partnered already with many people who are leaders within our assembly district, county officials as well, school board members from neighboring communities, because we all ultimately share similar goals and we should be collaborating with people around us. I hope that
Time.
All right, never mind.
Gary.
Okay, well, thanks again to the students and for putting on the program, and to everybody here and online who is attending the meeting. As I said, I spent my career in the sciences, and learning is very important to me. In particular, public education is important to me. I'm the product of a public education system. My two daughters went through the schools here, Proctor, Creekside, and the high school here, and got a great education. The great education here is because there's a great team here, and I hope to be a part of that team in the future. And I've also been endorsed by a few people who I'll mention. The ones that are important to me are the people who know me best, not someone who's a long way away and who may have talked to me once. I've been endorsed by all the current and former board members of Castro Valley Unified School District, except one who is with the League of Women Voters and doesn't believe she can endorse this year. And also by a former superintendent of schools here. And those mean a lot to me. So again, thank you. We want to keep our schools being great. I think we've got a great team, and I want to be part of that team. And just one last thought to all of you is register and vote, please. Whoever you vote for, please vote. Thank you.
And Tina?
We are blessed to live in such a diverse community in which education is of paramount importance, and we have potential school board members who want to do right by our students. We have a beautifully diverse student population who will continue to rise up when we see them for who they are and meet them where they're at in a safe, nurturing environment while continuing to set the bar higher and higher. We have teachers and leaders and staff who dare to care more than others think wise and work very hard to enable positive outcomes for our students, and we need to continue to attract, train and retain them. We have partners who want to support the needs of our students, and we have a community that understands that when our students do well, our entire community rises. And we're a continuously evolving district which seeks to get better and better each year, and there's much work that needs to be done. And we're also a community in which each year we have to make tough budget choices. I have demonstrated throughout my life and career that I am a dedicated, passionate, and proven leader in our local, national, and global communities. I'm deeply committed to ensuring that all students have equitable and access to a high-quality education. And while I've served and continue to serve in a charter school community, I do not want to bring charter schools here to Castro Valley. I promise to keep all our students at the center of the discussions and decisions, and to bring the community with me into each board meeting and decision. You can count on me to lead with love and integrity, to collaborate with our superintendent, my fellow board members, and existing and new community partners and members to make data-informed decisions. And I absolutely understand that there is room for improvement, and I'm committed to guiding us through the decisions and changes that need to be made in a productive, transparent, and accountable manner. I have the unique skill sets necessary of proven financial and executive leadership skills to help lead our district through these next 4 years. I respectfully and humbly request for your vote for me so that together we can make our schools even better than they are today. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for leading us through this, and thank you to the online community as well, and see you in November.
Thank you, and for our conclusion, statements.
We know some of you have not had your particular question answered. The screeners combined similar questions of general interest to the audience in the limited time we had. We hope that you will contact the candidates directly for additional information, and the Olympian will be putting out a transcript with additional questions answered.
If you have moved or changed your name or wish to change your party affiliation since you last registered, you need to re-register. Online voter registration is available at the welcome table and the Secretary of State's website, sos.ca.gov. It's secure and easy. The deadline to register to vote is October 24th, 2022. Voters may also register to vote on election day and vote provisionally.
Thank you to the candidates for participating in this event. Thank you, audience, for taking the time to become an educated voter. We also had many volunteers from Activism Club and the Olympian, and we want to thank them for their help. Please vote on November 8th.
Thank you.